Гледате Ноќно студио, јас сум Боријан Јовановски. Вечерва со вас да споделам тоа што нашата екипа беше да го регистрира во Солун, како расположение меѓу граѓаните, студентите, академската заедница, бизнисмените од грчкиот дел на Македонија, а во врска со прашањето за кое сите веруваме дека конечно дојде време да биде решено. На оваа тема вечерва во Ноќно студио ќе гледате. Веруваат ли грците дека годинава ќе има решение за името?
There is what we could call as restrained optimism.
Какво е грчкото јавно мислење?
The Greek public is disorientated. It is a bit not very well informed on the issue.
Што се случува на грчката политичка сцена?
Sometimes the government seems to be united on the issue. Sometimes the Syriza part of the government seems to be in opposition to the ANEL part of the government.
Какво е влијанието на грчката црква?
The church is not going to play the role that it played back in the 90s.
Дебата за името со студенти од Грција, Македонија, Бразил и Германија.
It's funny how something that seems to be so simple, that is a name, can bring up so many issues.
There's never black and white, good and bad.
Of course, yeah.
So it's very complex.
Првото прашање за моите соговорници беше дали веруваат во можноста дека годинава двете земји ќе го затворат 27 годишниот спор.
We are going through a very interesting period. I think there is intense interest in finding a solution. What I would like to note is that it seems there is a political will on the part of both governments in Athens and in Skopje to find a solution. So there is what we could call as restrained optimism.
I think there is a window of opportunity in a sense that there is goodwill from both governments, and they have expressed overtly their will to resolve the issue. If we combine that with electoral cycles that in 2018 we don't have any forthcoming elections, I think it's a very good opportunity to have constructive talks and resolve the issue soon.
I like to say that I'm cautiously optimistic. Things look better than they did in the last 10 or even more than 10 years. But still there is a long way to go. I think there will be quite challenging situation in both countries. So we can be a bit optimistic, but not, we cannot really be certain whether an agreement will be reached in the coming months. I think the main difference is the change in government in Skopje. I think Greece was very troubled by the policies and the behavior of the previous government. And it's not a coincidence that I think between the two countries during the years of Gruevski government, the relations reached rock bottom. We see a change of attitude, a change of mood, a change of priorities in the new government under Zaev, and I think the government in Greece wants to seize this window of opportunity, seize the opportunity to attempt to find a solution. The other big change is the fact that the international community, especially the American and the European diplomacy, are much more activated and they are pushing for a solution. So they're pressuring both sides to reach an agreement by this summer so that your country can hopefully get an invitation to join NATO in the Brussels summit.
Воздржаниот оптимизам кој можевте да го забележите во изјавите на моите соговорници се должи на состојбата на компликуваната ситуација на политичката атмосфера во Грција. Владеачката Сириза е расположена за решение, но не и нивниот помал коалиционен партнер, како и дел од опозицијската Нова демократија. Но е повеќе детали за тоа што се случува во Грција на политичката сцена кога станува збор за проблемот со името.
The good thing in Greece is that we don't need to perform a referendum, and it suffices to achieve an absolute majority in the parliament, and I think this is going to be achieved one way or another. There is no need even for the two parties forming the government to agree on the issue. There can be a kind of free vote. They're not going to oblige people to vote for the proposal that is going to be agreed between the governments. but I think an absolute majority is going to be achieved in the Greek parliament eventually. Syriza, which is a major party forming the Greek government, had a constructive view since the first place. I'm not sure if the other party forming part of the coalition, if it has the same constructive view. I think it's a tricky situation and a complicated situation. Why is that? Because we have two parties. Nea Demokratia is, let's say, that it's a center-right wing party. ANEL, Ανεξάρτητοι Έλληνες, is a right-wing party. So their electoral base is comprised of people who are sensitive in national policies, let's say, or we could say that there is a wing of nationalists as well supporting part of the electorate of these parties. So there is a blame game. There is a blame game between these two parties to accuse each other for having a stalemate or for having an impasse in order not to lose votes. I think eventually my belief is that eventually Nea Demokratia, at least partly, is going to support the solution that is going to come from the negotiations of the two governments regarding a composite from what we see name. But even if it's not the case, I think the Greek parliament is going to achieve an absolute majority, 151 votes, that they are enough to pass the issue from the parliament and find a solution for the name issue.
I think the Greek government, or part of the Greek government, is quite positive and quite optimistic with regards to trying to find a solution to the name issue in the coming months. I'm not sure whether the Greek government has a united front. So I'm really puzzled by the fact that we do get double talk every now and then within the government. Sometimes the government seems to be united on the issue. Sometimes the Syriza part of the government seems to be in opposition to the ANEL part of the government. So in that respect, I think the majority of the government is very open to a solution in the coming months, but I'm not sure the entire government is behind this idea. I think this is a key problem, and I don't think without the entire government behind this new push for a solution, and also the main opposition being behind this attempt, I don't think we will have really serious chances of actually resolving the issue. You need a united political front in Greece. I don't think any government will go ahead with reaching an agreement if they don't have a really comfortable majority in the parliament.
How do you see the role of the Nea Demokratia as a main political opposition?
Nea Demokratia, obviously with the votes of Nea Demokratia, an agreement could pass. But because of the trust between government and opposition being very low in Greece, and the political climate is really very difficult. There's no a single issue, I think, that government and opposition agree. I don't think the Nea Demokratia would support Syriza on this if Kamenos party, ANEL, is not in favor of a solution. They will not give them a helping hand, so to say. I think they did that before on other issues which were more peripheral, not so important for Greek foreign policy. They realized in the past that at the end they found themselves at the losing end. They realized that they gave a helping hand to Syriza to pass difficult laws, but in the end it was not at their benefit. So they will not do it this time, especially on such a cardinal issue on which even within Nea Demokratia, I'm sure there are many people, especially many voters, who are not happy with the solution. And that's, by the way, one issue to keep in mind, that the public opinion in Greece is still in majority some would say vast majority against a compromise. So this is something to take into account, because it's very difficult for parties, unless they agree to do it all together, to go against the vast majority of the public opinion.
Еден од влијателните фактори во Грција, за жал, е црквата, која, како што знаете, истапи со став дека компромисното решение не треба да го содржи зборот Македонија. Прашањето е колку е црквата влијателна во актуелните политички околности.
This is a tricky thing. In theory, as you know, the vast majority of Greeks are Christian Orthodox, but I'm not sure if the vast majority of Greeks obey to what the church is going to say, particularly on political issues. So from what we've heard, there are certain organizations are preparing some rallies in Thessaloniki against a prospective solution in relation to the issue. But I don't think, my personal feeling is that I don't think these rallies are going to be very successful. So I think it was very clever from the part of the local archbishop to say that he wasn't going to participate in the rallies. So that is an indication maybe that the church is not going to play the role that it played back in the 90s. They are more hesitant to play that role. They're going to declare that they're against a prospective solution, but I don't think their role is going to be critical in the decision of things.
The church is very influential, especially among right-wing people, which is the electorate of Nea Demokratia and Kamenos and El, but also generally a lot of conservative people. And in the north, it's even more influential than in Athens and in the south. Excuse me. Now, there are different interpretations about what the church said on this issue. Some say that it was an uncompromising statement opposing the Greek government on the issue. Some other people interpret this statement as something as being against a compromise but not supporting the rallies and the demonstrations and everything, which is very important, of course. What happened afterwards is strange. We had reactions by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, sources of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, accusing the Orthodox Church in Greece as siding with neo-Nazi Golden Dawn. That was, of course, a big mistake, because the church is not supporting Golden Dawn, and there are a lot of people who do not like the agreement. That doesn't mean that all these people are neo-Nazis or supporting the Golden Dawn. So I think it was a big mistake on the part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and it was partly addressed by the Prime Minister, who sent a moderating, so to say, letter to the head of the Orthodox Church in Greece. I think you need good diplomacy also between the government and the Church of Greece in order to have reach an agreement. I don't think you can have an agreement if the church is actively against it. They can be against it, but not actively against it. If they're actively against it, that complicates things a lot.
Не помалку важно е и расположението на јавното мислење, кое меѓу другото ќе биде тестирано и на протестот против компромисното решение кој ќе го содржи зборот Македонија, закажан за во недела.
I think despite the publicity that has taken place in the last weeks, this is not such an important issue for the Greek public. If I remember correctly, in several opinion polls, the issue was ranking very much behind in relation to other issues like unemployment, poverty, and because of the crisis, this is the political agenda that really interests the Greek public. Of course, the last weeks this issue has been brought up to the surface, but I don't think that people show clear signs that they want to be so much involved, or they want to participate in rallies in order to oppose a prospective solution. So I think there is a lot of sentiment involved there. The politicians haven't explained to the public how reality is now and what is the prospective, what is the best solution for Greece. And I think because of the bad work that has been done on the issue since the 90s, the Greek public is disorientated. It is a bit not very well informed on the issue. Despite that, though, I don't think the public cares so much. It is an emotional issue, but I don't think this is going to create a big problem.
All the surveys that we have done in the past show that the question is very emotional. Even if it's not a priority, even if people don't talk about it, it continues to be very emotional. One of the reasons is because it was so big in the 1990s and generations of people were somehow socialized in the issue in a certain way. Another issue why it remains so emotional is because there hasn't been an open and honest discussion about what happened in the 1990s. I don't think any political party or political leaders have actually talked openly to the public opinion, to the society about the problem, its solution, where Greece's mistakes are, where the other side's mistakes are. So there was not an open, honest debate about this. And that makes the issue still emotionally charged, not as much as in the 1990s, but still very much so. Whether now, regarding the rally that was announced for Thessaloniki, and there will be rallies also in Greece, depends very much on who's behind it. If the church supports it, I think it will be successful. I think the political parties, especially Nea Demokratia, will probably try to avoid supporting it. Because that will complicate things and it will make its own position even more difficult. I think it will depend, and it could be a test case for whether the public opinion will be highly opposing or not. Because if we don't see massive rallies for the issue, and especially with people having in mind how the rallies looked like in the 1990s, then that possibly will a bit de-escalate the issue. You know, if people do not present, you know, mobilizing in vast numbers, then maybe, you know, people will remember the difference from the 1990s and this could deflate a bit, but remains to be seen.
Надежта во Грција дека е можно решение, меѓу другото, е базирана и врз состојбите на меѓународната политичка сцена, како и интересот на важните меѓународни фактори да се најде решение за името.
I think each party has its own interests. The Americans are very practical in their approach. They have an interest for NATO to be expanded, and they have an involvement in the issue that serves their interests. But in politics, what is important is to find where common interest lies. Common interests lie. So I think it's useful for both the EU, a member of which is Greece, and the expansion of the EU in the Western Balkans to find a solution. For Greece, as I explained a while ago, there is a strong interest to find a solution, and for the EU as well. And I think we have a coincidence of interests in the area. So there is a lot of involvement from each part has its own interest, but on the issue, I think now we have healthy interests that coincide, and all the parts would like to find a solution. And I think it's a win-win situation if we do find a solution.
I think it's several reasons. I think both European partners and American partners realized that the situation as it evolved in recent years without, in the years where there wasn't much attention on the part of the European Union and the US, reached a point where things started to become quite dangerous. And we saw that both in your country and the developments in the last 2.5 years. We saw that in Montenegro. We see that in both in relations between Serbia and Kosovo, but also in the deep political crisis in Kosovo itself. We see the enduring crisis in Bosnia, the involvement of Russia in many different ways in the region. So all this put together, I think, made Western policymakers realize that they have to re-energize their efforts. to bring the region closer to the EU and NATO. Another, the involvement of Russia is also very important, but also the developments within the EU. I think Brexit also made a change within the EU. EU policymakers, the European Commission started to look for new ideas to rejuvenate somehow the European integration process. The enlargement is not a new idea, but it was traditionally for many decades the most successful EU policy. So revisiting this EU policy, putting a new energy, new effort in the accession process is part of the answer to Brexit, I think. But it's several reasons, not only that.
I think I should underline that the negotiation process involves the UN, Athens and Skopje. They are the ones who have to come into an arrangement concerning a possible solution on the name issue. Of course, Bulgaria is a neighboring state. Both Fyrom and Greece have very good relations, and I think it's proper to take into consideration their position on a possible solution. We know that Mr. Borisov has expressed
What's their concern?
Yes, he has expressed his disagreement with a composite geographical name. In this sense, possible names like Severna Macedonia or Gorna Macedonia are not looked upon kindly by Sofia. And I think...
Why? What's their concerns? Why they look not friendly on this
yes,
kind of possible solution?
It seems that Sofia feels that any geographical composite name, it affects each part of geographical Macedonia, Pirinska Macedonia, and it doesn't like to see that.
Во Солун, меѓу другото, имав прилика да се сретнам и со една група на студенти. Грци, македонци, но и бразилка и германец. Еве како размислуваат тие за ова прашање. Dear undergraduate, postgraduate students, would you be so kind to tell us how you see the problem of the name issue? I would rather start with you as a foreigner, German and Brazilian. It must be interesting for us to hear your opinion in general. How do you see the problem between the two countries?
So when I got here, it was kind of surprising. When you first hear it's an issue about the name, about two European countries, one member of the European Union and one want to be a member of the European Union that is still existing. But it's the complexity is, for me, as somebody who's never experienced this before, kind of hard to grasp. So yeah, it's a very complex issue, I would say.
You, as a Brazilian out of Europe?
Yes, a complete outsider. For me, I've discussed this with Sonia in the past, and it's funny how something that seems to be so simple, that is a name, can bring up so many issues. But the name issue is attached to the identity and to the past and history of both of these countries. There's the Alexander the Great issue and name of the airport and stuff like this. That if you overlook this, it seems like something that could easily be solved, but there are deeper roots behind it.
If I ask you who is a bad guy, who is a good guy, can you have an answer? Or, no, I would like to hear from you.
Okay.
Or both bad and good? What's bad, what's good to one to another?
Well, I would say in diplomacy or relations, there's never black and white, good and bad.
Of course, yeah.
So it's very complex, and of course, when you have a debate or these complex issues, you want to make it okay. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Who's the good one? Who's the bad one? But I think it's not possible in this case, and the only solution for this is to talk to each other and to make a solution where everybody is going to be happy. Everybody has to make, of course, a step back, I think, but also to come together to make a comprehensive solution which will suit everybody. So there is no good one, no bad one. Everybody has
Quite a
their...
diplomatic answer for a student, but
Oh, of course, of
Yeah.
course, of course. I mean, you always have to be diplomatic. I think in this relation, so there
for a
will-
German, it's a German, it's yeah. So
but I think we're all Europeans,
Yeah, of
so
course.
it's it's always I think all topics can be negotiated in a peaceful
Yeah.
way, and that's also can be solved.
Let's, Sonia, I mean, as a Macedonian, you live here. What have you learned here, first of all, about the Greek position? Is there anything that you have learned when you came here, which is not very well known in our country?
First of all, thank you for having me in this TV show.
Pleasure is all mine.
It is very challenging for a person from Macedonia to study in Thessaloniki, I mean in Greece. In general, I must say Greek people are very nice, and I mean I've met a lot of Greek people, and the people in our group at university, or majority are Greek. I would say that I've experienced some uncomfortable situations, but I would say also that because the problem between our country and Greece is being so politicized, and it's not just the name issue. Personally, what I think, there is something more that is happening, and I mean, the problem now, personally, I think that between the two countries, first of all, they have problems in their own country. So Macedonia as a country has its own problem, and Greece has its own problem, the crisis. So I think, first of all, they should focus on their problems within the countries, and after that, to find a solution about the name dispute and everything that follows. Yeah.
Do you think the solution is possible? Some say in our country it's not possible to give up.
Actually,
say about the name.
yeah, I know. I read the news, and people are being very optimistic, and I am optimistic, and I hope truly to be the solution to be found by the end of the year. But I've also spoke with some Greek people. There are actually a lot of Greek people who are being pessimists about the name. First of all, because you have two groups of people in Greece: the ones who like the term Macedonia, and the ones who do not like at all the term Macedonia. So first of all, I think they must arrange that within the country, and after that to negotiate with.
So let's ask the hosts here, the hosts here from Thessaloniki. What's your fear? Because it's Greece who is asking Macedonia to change the name. What's your main fears? Having in mind that we are small countries, 2 million people in the north, you're a member of EU and NATO both. Well, what's your problem? What do you expect? How can explain your fears and your personal feelings about the fact that there is another country with the name Republic of Macedonia?
First of all, I want to thank you for this chance to meet here. Personally, I don't have any fear because I don't think this is the original problem of both countries. I agree with Sonia. I think the dispute over the name is not a real problem. I mean, I fear most the austerity measures that the government implements. Today there is a discussion in the parliament for new measures. This is my real problem. I don't fear your country. I think the best for the two countries is the recognition of the mutual fears and trying really hard to understand each other and solve this dispute the sooner the better.
Eleni, what's your opinion?
I'm Maria.
Maria, sorry, yes. You're right.
Seleni.
Just a moment.
I have to admit, Lenny and I aren't the greatest representatives of our age groups and typical Northern Greek people.
It's not the mainstream.
I endorse everything she has said. I'm not liberal either. And I just feel that most people here in Greece have this propaganda smashed down their throats for so many years, thinking that you have imperialistic thoughts about Thessaloniki and the entire administrative region of Greek Macedonia. And this doesn't sound... I hope this isn't realistic. I hope this isn't the case. And how could it be? You're a country of 2 million people. 2 million people is almost Thessaloniki and the small towns around it. But most people my age, I have been talking about this subject with my closest friends, and they say, no, Macedonia is Greek, and no, it's not. It's a huge region. It's in Bulgaria, it's the entire country of Macedonia, it's our Macedonia. Well, still the name is Greek, and okay, I get that it's a Greek word, but that doesn't seem like a problem to me. The real problem is that Greece doesn't accept the fact that it needs to be a stabilizer in the Balkans. It needs to help its neighbors. They think that the Balkans is something lower than Greece, but Greece is the Balkans, and they need their neighbors to be at a certain level in order to have better economic relationships. And right now your country needs to be in the EU. It cannot not be a part of the EU, and I don't know why we sabotage this. It's not for our own good. We think it is, but it really isn't.
But you still, I mean, people who think like you and Eleni...
There are not many of us, I think.
Your colleagues from Greek are very much self-critics about the situation in Greece. If I've asked you to be self-critical towards what's going on in our country, what do you say?
Well, you mentioned the project 2014, you mentioned Alexander the Great. I think it was a classical provocation, kind of, because you cannot expect to solve the name issue if you build in the Skopje Square, I don't know how many feet, bronze statue of Alexander the Great. And also, you cannot name the airport in Skopje Alexander the Great. Why do you do that? I mean, personally, I wouldn't. And also, I think it was, as Eleni said, something like nation building, because in Skopje and in the whole country, nationalism prevails and identity, and people suffer from that, and it's a fact.
How the identity of Germans are linked with the name of the country?
Yeah, I mean, that's depending also.
With the personality of history, maybe it's a...
Yeah, of course. I mean, the German identity, of course, changed after Second World War. So there was a question how we identify as Germans, and I think now it changed with the founding fathers of the European Union. That I feel more European than Germans. For me, it doesn't matter exactly where you come from, or it's. So I would say it's important to create more wider picture of not only national identity, but value identity. And I think in Europe we have this. We can find these values of democracy, of freedom, and we should focus on that. And I'm not saying that you should leave all your history behind. I like the history where I come from the part of Germany, my city, and stuff like this. But it's not more about nationality and stuff like that. Because like here, people come from different parts of the world, moved in. different parts of countries have different traditions, and so it's a mixture, and this is exciting. And I think you can find this especially here, that you have a lot of similarities with the history, with Alexander the Great, for Macedonians, and so on, so on. Of course, there are differences, but this is Europe, and this is the interesting fact about it, that we can live together and you can share.
There was various attempts in the last 25 years to find a solution for the name issue. Do you think that now it's a high time and that we have a real window of opportunity to finally resolve it? I mean, maybe I'm not asking you only a personal feelings, but what you see as a mood in Thessaloniki, the capital of northern Greece.
I think the past years, every time Greece has thrown the Macedonian issue on the table, is to hide something worse happening. Like every time there are new austerity measures, they use this as a distraction from the real problems. And I think that no government, not here, not in your country, has been mature enough to actually see realistically the problem and come up with solutions that could make everyone agree. Last governments wanted 100% for us and 0 for the other country, and I don't know to what an extent was that the case in your country, but I can understand by the Skopje 2014 program and so on that it might have been something like that. And now I think that both Zaev government and are seeing this realistically, that there has to be somewhere in the middle. I think.
We saw million people on the streets of Thessaloniki back in the beginning of the 90s. Now there is an announcement for a new protest, again here in Thessaloniki. Do you expect 1 million to come up, to show up?
No, I don't think so. I hope not. There is some propaganda nowadays too, but I think it's for it's a method to play this nationalistic card for getting political, for pleasing the voters of certain political parties. I don't think there is so much. It's not so strong as it was back in the 19th. Of course, even the Church, the Holy Synod, made a statement, but I don't think they can move anybody. And as I said before, I think there is pressure from the United States and the NATO, because there is a meeting in June, I think.
But I guess also there is a more mature public opinion, tired of...
Probably it's time to solve this matter and get on with our lives in both countries.
So thank you very much to all of you. Прашање кое не е помалку важно е и расположението на бизнис заедницата во Грција, која сепак има свој збор во целата приказна. Во Солун се сретнав со Арис Влахос, бизнисмен кој активно работи на релацијата Солун-Скопје во изминативе 20 години.
I believe from what I see that there is a strong will from both sides, from both governments, also from the internationals, to come into a compromise, and I believe that this is something good for both countries. So I see that there is a window of opportunity now.
What's the mood now in Greece?
What is the mood in Greece? I could speak from the part of the business community. We believe that there are common interests between the business communities of the two countries, and that both communities, business people from both countries, could benefit from this. And of course, always cooperation is better than to have conflict.
What's the interest? What's the particular interest of the business community here in Greece, especially in the northern part of the Greece, to find a solution for the language?
First, we have to see the history, the business history between the two countries. We would say that Greece, as a country, as companies invested about something more than 1 billion euros the last 10 years, and they created more than 25,000 positions of working in the country. So I believe that Greek companies are a stability factor for your country. And I see that that could be continued if we have a resolution which will be, of course, win-win for both countries.
Till now, let's say the nationalism was the dominant factor. That's why, on both sides maybe, that's why we were not able to find the solution. Do you think that this particular time that it's the rational also business interests are dominant?
The thing that I would tell you is that in our days, today, there is no any more room for nationalism. That was a very bad factor, influenced negatively all efforts. I believe that we have to forget about it. No more nationalism in our days. No more nationalism that will poison the relation between the two countries. And not only the two countries, in all our region.
Among you, the businessmen, is there any debate about the name issue right now? What are the expectations?
The expectation for us as business communities, a resolution, a compromise. This is our expectation, and that's why we're discussing also in between us. There is always a big interest this to be resolved, because this will be for the benefit of our business in all region, I mean.
And you believe this time the compromise could happen?
Let's give a chance, because I see that there is a possibility now. This is my personal feeling, just personal. And again, my message to the business community of your country is cooperation, and of course, again, wishes for health and happiness.
Your friend here in Thessaloniki, they share this your personal
I think yes, because they are very positive.
Во процесот за решавање на спорот, како што знаете, меѓу другото се отвори и прашањето за содржината на историските читанки. Солун е седиште на невладината организација која работи долги години на изготвување на заеднички историски читанки за Балканот, кој, како што рекол Черчил, генерира историја повеќе од неговиот капацитет да ја свари. Начело на оваа невладина организација е Звездана Ковач, која досега без успех се обидува овие читанки, правени пурнекот на помирувањето меѓу Франција и Германија, да им ја понуди на Министерствата за образование на Грција и Македонија. Еве го разговорот со неа.
Nastava istoriju u objema zemljama ne pomaže tom nekom procesu traženje rešenja, već više stvaranje novih problema, što naravno nikako nije dobro. Vrlo je ilustrativno da ove čitanke nisu u upotrebi ni u jednoj od ove dvije zemlje. Ni u Makedoniji ili bivšoj Jugoslovenskoj Republici Makedoniji, niti u Grčkoj, iz razumljivih razloga. Stvari se mijenjaju.
Šta su to razumljivi razlozi?
Pa ovi o kojima smo govorili, zašto se i kako se nastave istorije upotrebljava u koje svrhe u objemu zemljama. Jer znate i sami da su obrazovanje i mediji negdje zapravo, kako da kažem, sredstva manipulacije, a režimi koji se ne osjećaju sigurno, naravno da posežu za sredstvima manipulacije i tamo gdje imaju moć koriste maksimalno.
Kakav je vaš uvid u makedonskim udžbenicima što se tiče grčkih istorije? Jel znate da je jedan od sporova između ostalog i oko tome Aleksandar Čijem, Aleksandar Makedonski, da li je i naš i njihov ili je samo njihov?
Ne mogu da vam govorim o detaljima, udžbenicima, niti jedne zemlje. Ono što mogu da vam kažem više se odnosi onako na neka generalna zapažanja, a opet zapažanja koja su nastala kroz istraživanje obrazovnog sistema u svim zemljama jugoistočne Evrope. Jedno smo uradili prije skoro 20 godina. To je zapravo bio i povod kad smo vidjeli rezultate istraživanja da krenemo s jednim ovakvim udžbenikom. Potpuno je bilo jasno da je u svim zemljama nastava istorije egocentrična i etnocentrična. Drugo smo uradili vrlo skoro. Zapravo uradili smo ga ove godine, rezultati će biti objavljeni uskoro i mogu da vam kažem da se malo toga ili gotovo ništa nije promijenilo za 20 godina. Ono što mogu da predložim i ono na čemu Centar radi, Centar za demokratiju i pomirenje u Jugoistočnoj Evropi, je da preporučimo metodologiju. Jer ove čitanke su zapravo posebne po svojoj metodologiji. To je ta metodologija multiperspektivnosti. Jer i sami znate da su istorijski udžbenici vrlo selektivni. Ili su selektivni u događajima, ili u fotografijama, mapama, raznim istorijskim izvorima, ili je jezik takav da opet pogoduje manipulaciji. Naš pristup je pristup multiperspektivnosti koji vodi računa o kontekstu, koji vodi računa o tome da je jedan događaj obrađen sa svih strana i pitanjima đacima zapravo motiviše đake i studente kojima je knjiga namijenjena da kritički razmišljaju. Dakle, da ne primaju sve zdravo za gotovo, da pogledaju malo šta se dešava i izvan njihovog dvorišta, da proborave malo, kako to kažemo, u obući drugog, jel tako? Dakle, daleko od toga da se radi o relativizaciji, ali se radi o tome da apsolutno pružimo mogućnost da se ima uvid. To je bitno. Da nema skrivanja, da nema selekcije, da nema tog selektivnog zaboravljanja.
Rekli ste da ove vaši priručnici, ova zajednička istorija jugoistočne Evrope se ne koriste ni u Grčkoj ni u Makedoniji. Zašto? Zašto se ne koristi u Grčkoj i zašto se ne koristi u Makedoniji?
Pa moram da vam kažem da...
Jeste dobili obrazloženja? Jel ste to, pretpostavljam, i predložili?
Mi smo zapravo na samom početku dobili podršku od Ministarstva obrazovanja Grčke, a onda smo u takozvanom nezgodnom trenutku promovisali naše knjige u kojem je, ne sjećam se tačno, o kojem je sporu bilo riječ u tom trenutku, ali je bio takav da naše čitanke nisu bile dobro došle. Situacija se promijenila. Politički kontekst, naravno, politički kontekst nije bio pravi. Mi smo malo, možda s manje iskustva i prilično entuzijastično i s manjkom tog diplomatskog možda nerva, se odlučili da krenemo s tim čitankama, nekako previdjeli nepogodan politički trenutak i desilo se što se desilo. One su sada, te čitanke, negdje u podrumima i skladištima Ministarstva za obrazovanje. U međuvremenu situacija se promijenila i međutim naš fokus se također promijenio. Ne samo fokus, nego znate da smo nevladina organizacija koja se finansira iz fondova ili Evropske unije ili drugih fondacija. Uglavnom prioritet ovih posljednjih godina su bile zemlje Zapadnog Balkana, pretendenti na članstvo u Evropskoj uniji, tako da smo mi ta materijalna sredstva koja su važne, bez kojih ne možete da radite, zapravo dobijeli za ove druge zemlje. To naravno nije izgovor da se ne vratimo Grčkoj i ostalim zemljama jugoistočne Evrope i upravo na tome radimo ovih dana i mislim da ćemo na tome raditi ove godine. U Makedoniji, dakle ja sam lično preko raznih kanala pokušavala da dođem do Ministarstva obrazovanja Makedonije, slala im naše čitanke, lično sam dolazila čak i do portirnice i ostavila udžbenike tamo i molila samo za razgovor, nije mi uspjelo. A ja sam u centru već 7-8 godina i moji prethodnici su radili na tome. Pretpostavljam da je sada zgodan trenutak i da kada se riješi ovo pitanje imena za koje se toplo nadam da će biti uskoro riješeno, ćemo s našim čitankama doći u Makedoniju.
Da li ove čitanke, postoji jedan aspekt ovih pregovora da između ostalog da se formiraju radne grupe koje će istraživati čitanke istorijske i u Makedoniji i u Grčkoj kako bi utvrdili šta je to što generira konfliktne situacije. Da li ove čitanke mogu navesti da se nađe neko rješenje i da se...
Apsolutno, mislim da su savršen primjer. Apsolutno mislim da bi trebalo da budu u upotrebi i promovisane u objema zemljama i to što prije. I apsolutno mislim i vjerujem da je metodologija koju smo mi koristili odličan primjer kako bi mogli i udžbenici u svim zemljama da se koriste.
To je все, що имав да споделам со вас од нашиот престој во Солун. Ви благодарам за вниманието и до гледање.